Meeple Talk! Hello everyone, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Adam.
And welcome to Meeple Talk. And the reason why I say meeple is that we're going back to the land of meeples. We're revisiting a classic. When I say classic, I'm almost like a legendary game of sorts. Back to Gaming Dynasty.
Yes.
So we've got Carcassonne. So those who may be familiar with it, Carcassonne is a franchise of tile placing games. This one's called Over Hill and Dale. This is a standalone.
New. Yes.
It's new. Yes, it's shiny and yellow. So it is a standalone game. So it's not mixing or an expansion on the previous versions. So this one, as I said earlier, just like, well, I guess I should say two other features. So this one, Z-Man Games, is the publisher this time. You may have noticed that Rio Grande Game did some of the other ones.
The older ones, yeah.
Yes, the older ones. 2 to 5 players, so it's a smaller game, fewer tiles. Takes about maybe 35 minutes to have this up, right? Yeah, okay. So, just to make sure it wasn't...
mistake I made.
Exactly. So for those who aren't familiar with Carcassonne or any of the versions, generally what it's traditionally been is a tile placing game where you draw a tile and you place a tile and eventually build a landscape. And you try to match certain features, whether it's fields or roads or different kind of landscape compositions. And what you're trying to do is essentially build your... I don't know, is it a village? Is it a city? Your lands. And try to complete features.
Yeah, just the landscape with fields and, animals and stuff.
Exactly.
There's stables in this game, so... Yeah, but the main thing is... you have to build little fields, and just to clarify, in Carcassonne, the original Carcassonne, you would build
the green
castles.
Space.
In here, in this game, the fields are equivalent to the castles in the original game.
Exactly, because before the fields were the green space, now it's just where the fruits and veggies grew. Now, you always had these figures where we say Meeple is at, this is where Meeples came from. They're a little bit different, though. These guys, the little farmers, they're actually shaped slightly different. They have hats. A little bit bigger pants, too. You've also got these barn...
Stables.
Sparples?
They're stables. I don't know where you're going with that.
Yeah,
but...
barn meeples. Anyway.
Okay.
Okay. And this is the feature that as you build, because your goal is with your particular meeple is that once you build a feature, you can take control of it, either by placing your meeple on an actual field or on a road, anything like that. And then the stables, the barns, you can put in the actual meadow. And this is where, if you might notice that there's some tiles with animals on them, and so you get more points with the amount of animals surrounding your stable. Also, you've got, same kind of counter tokens as in traditional Carcassonnes, but you've also got these extra tokens with different produce, plus a scarecrow, that you're going to collect. So as you complete some of your landscapes, you'll then get those tokens.
You'll harvest, so to speak,
exactly.
the vegetables and fruits. Yes.
Exactly.
And
so those are, I was just going to say, those are some of the general components of the game. So shall we tell them how it's done?
Sure. Okay. So, so how a turn is played, it's basically each person takes a tile and then they look at it and say, well, where can I put it? That's to my advantage. If they have already started a farm, they may want to add to it with a view toward closing it, or if it, if the piece has some interesting fruits and vegetables on it that they can collect, they might want to extend it a little bit before they close it. And if you have a road, then you might want to start a road or extend a road that you already have. And the goal is to close your field and then gain points, 2 points for each tile that has part of your field on it. And also you get the fruits and vegetables, and they score at the end. They score 1 point each, and at the end of the game, all of the fruits and vegetables that you have, and the scarecrow, and the wheat, and sunflower.
You can make a set.
It's hard to call them all one thing, but anyway, so if you have 5 different ones, that's considered a set, so you'll get an additional 5 points in addition to the 1 point you get for each one. So that's kind of cool. You get those extra points, so you're trying to build those into your field. And then if you don't see any option when you place your tile for the fields or the roads, then you could place a stable. And especially if it has some animals on it. Now, there's a few tiles that have, for example, 3 sheep. So that's 3 points, right? So the way the stable works is once you place it, It's there till the end of the game. And at the end of the game, wherever it's sitting and all of the 8 tiles around, you count up all the animals that are on it, and you get 1 point for each animal. Mm-hmm. So, and that's basically the whole game. Now, one of the big strategies I should mention in this game, and what makes it really cool
What's new?
and fun, is that if you're building either a farm or a road, somebody else can cut into it. Now, they can't add their guy onto it. If you're someone else already has a meeple on a road or on a farm, you can't add directly onto it and put your guy on. What you have to do is you have to put the tile near it and put your meeple on that part of, for example, the farm, and then on a future turn, connect them up. And then, of course, the player who currently controls the farm will maybe want to put a piece in that cuts you out of it, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to into it.
Yeah, so the cutting feature carries over from other versions into this.
Yeah, and the idea is whoever has the most meeples when it's closed, when the farm is closed or the road is ended, they will get all the points. Now, if 2 people tie, then they will divide up the points, and there's special rules for that. And they'll divide up the fruits and vegetables and resources like that, too. So, but that is essentially the whole game. And then you play until there's no tiles left, and then you score your points, and then at the end you score for your whatever fruits and vegetables you have left, and that's the end of the game. So, let's move on to opinions.
Why not?
Sure.
Okay. So, one of the things that I really like about this game, and if you've ever watched our previous review of traditional Carcassonne, is that Carcassonne has always been very good at creating a theme or a gameplay that no matter what version or storyline or mask you put on it, no matter if it's an expansion or the core game, every component or every layer you add onto it always fits. It always feels like, so this is a Carcassonne game that is a standalone game, so the expansions don't work with it, but it feels very Carcassonne. The theme carries over very, very well. The other thing that I like about it too is that it tends to combine what I would like to think is some of the really nice elements that you would find in other versions of Carcassonne, and it all works together very, very well. They make it a little more strategic. It's a shorter game, a smaller game with fewer tiles, fewer players. They also give you fewer meeples, so you have to be a little more selective how you use them.
Yeah, you have 4 meeples. Yeah, just to mention
however, they make up for, if anyone thought it was a bit of a bad thing in previous versions where meeples used to be in fields and they would be sitting there used up not doing anything, or on an incomplete road and they're not doing anything. They let you score points while they're sort of idle. So one of the things we hadn't mentioned before is this idea of the wanderer. If you're on a road, and if you've expanded or built onto that road, normally you can't put a second meeple on, so you can still take advantage of not being able to do anything by just wandering along that road in any direction as far as you can go. You get points for that. So your idle meeple is still earning you points. Yeah. And I like the reason why they chose stables to use in the meadows, because again, in older versions, a meeple would be used up taking that same kind of spot, and that's it. So they allow you to do more with less in this version. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I really like, I like this one. It's an interesting way to relayer the different components in all the different versions of Carcassonne.
Yes. Yeah, my opinion is, and I'll just say right now, I think this is the best version I've ever played of Carcassonne. And the reason is, number one, it's a shorter game, it's a simpler game. It doesn't have the fields where you have to figure out, where the fields are going and whether someone's going to cut in and trying to close them. Maybe it's more strategic and that sort of thing, but it adds a layer of complexity. And I find that this is a great game for just, relaxing in the sun.
It's a lemonade game.
On a lazy afternoon, you don't want to play super competitive. You just want to have fun and socialize. Mm-hmm. This is a perfect game for it. Like the perfect game. And I think this is the perfect version for it. Mm-hmm. It's very charming. I love the art. I really think they did a fantastic job with the art. I love, the little pictures of the scarecrows and the little animals in the fields. It's just wonderful to just look at the board as it's being created and see all the little, the fields that have pumpkins have a little pumpkin patch, and the ones with apples have apple trees, and it's just charming and gorgeous.
And some of the comments may have said that, with the work of the box art and whatnot, that it gave the impression of maybe being a younger game. But really, it doesn't actually play like that. It plays a lot like the other versions. So it's not it's not a child's game by any means.
Yeah. I've mentioned before, I think it's more like, city versus country. This game has more of a country feel. A little bit more playful. And I think they just did a fabulous job with it. So I was just, I was so excited to play this, and then it just, I think they took all of the, like Stephanie mentioned, all of the like best components from other games, like Hunters and Gatherers, if you've heard of that one.
I like that
That's
one.
also a good Carcassonne version. It's a standalone game. It took some of the elements of that, simplified some other features, and made it into a filler game. And that's another thing. This is now a great filler game, right? Between two other big games that maybe you're playing on a particular night.
Yeah.
So I think it has everything. So there you go.
So I say, absolutely, go ahead, do it. If you like Carcassonne and you want to add to your collection, or if you've never played Carcassonne before, it's okay to go with this one because I think with the different elements that you find in this game as you play other versions of Carcassonne, okay, I'll get how that works. And so it's easy to kind of translate over to the other ones if you ever play the other ones in the future. So as a standalone, as a first time or as a long time fan, that's one of them you got to have. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So that has been our review for this week. So once again, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Adam. Thanks for watching.
Thank you so much.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.